Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel. I was one of the lucky ones that managed to get access to the latest Neverness to Everness closed beta, which ended a few months ago, and today I will walk you through the fundamentals of team building and will also show the strongest teams I cooked for every single character, so you know exactly what you are gonna need to go for and you are not gonna waste any resources when the game will officially launch for global. I've seen a lot of misinformation online regarding teams and the team building process itself, so I hope this video is gonna shed some light on the subject. And we are gonna start it off by talking about the combat. In Neverness to Everness is kind of a mix between Genshin and Wuthering Waves. You have intros and you have elemental reactions, and it all comes down to the Esper cycle. Here is how it goes. When the on-field character switches to an off-field character of an adjacent element, they trigger its intro, and they also trigger the elemental reaction corresponding to the combo. Let's say that you have an incantation character on the field. If you switch to a chaos character, it will trigger the intro, which is kind of like an extra ability, nothing that crazy, it just deals a bit of extra damage, and it will also trigger the elemental reaction. In this case, it's gonna be Scorch, and this applies dots on enemies. Now, if you switch from an incantation character to an anima character, you will trigger the Hexed reaction. This acts like some kind of bomb dot. It's gonna store 20% of all the anima and incantation damage that you are gonna deal for a few seconds, and at the end of it, it's just gonna explode. And this works both ways. If you are switching from an anima character to an incantation character, you are also gonna apply Hexed. But if you switch from an incantation character to a Lakshana character, well, there is no connection between these two elements, so nothing is gonna happen. No intro and no reaction. And all the characters have a passive that is entirely dedicated to buffing one or another reaction. So safe to say, this is the most important thing you need to take into account when assembling your teams. If not, you are just gonna waste parts of characters' kits. And the other is liking and subscribing for more high quality NT content. You know where the button is, you know what to do. Do it now! And let's start the actual team building with the very first subject, which is gonna be Nanally. She's an anima element character and she's also a main DPS. And her passive massively improves the Blossom reaction, the combination between anima and the Cosmos. In other words, it is mandatory to pair her with a Cosmos character, and out of the 4 existing ones, Chiz is directly out of the picture. She is also a main DPS type character, and Nanally is a DPS, a main DPS, so they are just gonna fight for time on field, just no. And this is an unfortunate situation because Chiz is gonna be given for free, but what can you do? Hathor will also not be available for 2 weeks since she's gonna be the part 2 banner, so really we only have like 2 options, and my favorite pairing is gonna be with Zero, the main character. And that's because Zero charges the Esper cycle very fast, taking very little time on field, and when you have him duped out, like full max dupes, it will give a 10% attack buff to the entire team. Being the main character, it means that we are just gonna get his dupes from the main quests. Not sure if all 6 of them are gonna be available in the first version, but eventually we'll be able to get them, so yeah. Zero's ability also empowers the charge reaction. Every time charge is triggered, it's gonna provide some healing. So it's not only a buffer, it's also a healer, doubles down as a healer. Charges the reaction between Cosmos, Anima and Lakshana, and it restores energy. But for this you are gonna need Lakshana, so you are gonna need either Hathor or 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗆. Hathor is the X rank standard character and she's a burst DPS. In other words, she has a very fast rotation, she just comes on field, does her damage and just leaves. 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗆 on the other hand is an A rank. He is however a main DPS, so he's gonna stay longer on field, lowering the damage ceiling of your team and lowering the overall DPS. And Hathor also buffs the Remora reaction, the combination of Cosmos and Lakshana. And for the final character, I would prefer Hathor, even though she might have been changed since previous betas, we have no way to know for sure. However, it does not really matter because she's not gonna be available at the very beginning. You are gonna have to wait 2 weeks for her banner, and until then, we need a replacement. And that replacement is gonna be Edgar. This guy does one thing and one thing only, he heals. Like, he's the only true healer in the entire game. 0 only heals if you trigger the charge reaction. Well, Edgar does not care. He heals either way. And he further empowers the charge reaction, enabling it to restore 120 ultimate energy every 30 seconds. This is gonna be Nanaly's team with the greatest overall synergy at the beginning of the game. However, you have another option. And personally, this is the one that I'm gonna go with. We keep Nanally and we keep Zero, but we add Sakiri to the mix. Why? Where her passive increases the attack of your entire team by 30% of her own basic attack. And there are only 3 characters in the entire game that can buff your team. Sakiri herself, Zero at max dupes, also provides only a 10% attack increase compared to Sakiri's 30%, and Haniel, the pre-registration A rank. Unfortunately, Haniel's buff is tied to the Nova reaction, which means that you need a Chaos character besides Haniel herself, and she also only increases the damage, well, the attack by 18%, so there is no way you can use her with Nanally. Sakiri also has insane gathering capabilities, and for the last slot we will use Juan. Juan's passive buffs the Blossom reaction even further, stacking with Nanally. The rotation will look something like this. You'll start with Sakiri, gathering the mobs and buffing your team. Then you are gonna switch to Juan, triggering the hexed debuffs in order for enemies to pretty much take 20% extra anima and incantation damage. Then you are gonna change to Zero, triggering Blossom, and then you are gonna switch to Nanally, triggering Blossom once again. And Nanally is gonna get a 40% attack buff for the entirety of her rotation. After it's done, you're just gonna switch back to Sakiri and you're gonna trigger X once again, completing the circle. Now, if you are planning to use this team, you are gonna lose the charge reaction, which is a pretty big one because restoring energy is always good. And you are also gonna lose the passive of Zero, so no healing there. And Sakiri's own passive buffs Scorch, not Hexed. So the synergy is not perfect, but for the gathering ability, for the 30% attack boost, and for the extra damage from the Hexed reaction, I personally will take it. Full Unga Bunga damage. And of course, this team will have no healer because no Edgar and no Zero passive. So if you plan to go this route, the Hulk route, you better be good at the game. Next, we have Chiz, the free character that we will get fully duped and with fully upgraded signature weapon. She is a Cosmos main DPS and she buffs the charge reaction. So right off the bat, you are looking at Hathor and Juan. In order to complete the charge reaction, you can replace Hathor with 𝗖cie and you can replace Juan with Nanally or Mint, which again is not ideal because all of them are main DPSs and they are gonna take a lot of field time, so that's just gonna suck. But you really don't have any other options. And for the 4th slot, just use Zero once again. And next we have Baicang, the strongest standard DPS at launch, and frankly, his team might be the strongest in the entire game simply because of the insane quality of its members. He's an incantation main DPS and he empowers the Scorch reaction. And for this, you are gonna need a Chaos character. And unfortunately, there is only one character in the entire game, Daffodill. She's the only dedicated break character too, and she empowers the Discord reaction, the reaction between incantation, chaos and the 𝗖cie, which further buffs the break of your entire team. But we are gonna need 𝗖cie for the Discord reaction. Luckily, there are many options here. You have 𝗿𝗵𝗵𝗵, who is a tank, who is also increasing the max HP of your entire team, providing more survivability. You also have Haniel with her 18% attack increase, one of the only 3 buffers in the entire game. Both are buffing the Nova reaction, so it's your choice if you prefer tankiness or more DPS. What I'm gonna say though is that you are gonna need Baicang since he's the main DPS, and there is no other alternative to Daffodill. You are just gonna have to get her either from the selector or by getting lucky. So if you plan to go for 𝗿𝗵𝗵𝗵, this is by the way also 𝗿𝗵𝗵's best team, but if you plan to go for 𝗿𝗵𝗵𝗵, you are looking at 3 standard characters right off the bat, which is not ideal. And for the last slot, the best option is gonna be Sakiri, another standard character. She provides bars, she provides gathering, we already talked about this, and she also improves the scorch reaction, and in this case this is actually valuable. If you don't have Sakiri, you can use Adler. However, there is a very big difference in performance between them. Adler has no attack percentage buff, and yes, he also buffs the scorch reaction, but it is a lot more RNG. Sakiri is simply way better, and I would rather take Haniel instead of Fadia rather than replacing Sakiri with Adler. You also have to consider that this is just gonna be a full damage team. You have Haniel with the 18% attack increase and Sakiri with the 30% attack increase, and you have Break. You are just gonna vaporize anything that comes your way. The only downside, besides of course the outrageous amount of standard characters, is that you will miss on some Esper cycles. You'll start with Sakiri into Daffodill for the Scorch reaction, then you are gonna switch to Haniel in order to get the Nova off and at the same time Discord, and then you are gonna directly switch to Baicang. Switching from a 𝗖cie character to Baicang, well, there is not gonna be any reaction here. And then you are gonna have to switch from Baicang to Sakiri, incantation to incantation, so again, no reaction. But there is no helping it, we have no other chaos character at this very moment in order to make a proper circle. This is gonna change though, because we had Lacrimosa in one of the previous betas where I did not manage to get in, but that's another story. She was a chaos main DPS, and by using Lacrimosa instead of Baicang, you'll just get the perfect team. You'll have Sakiri that can switch to Daffodill, Daffodill can switch to Haniel, Haniel then can switch to Lacrimosa, and Lacrimosa can switch back to Sakiri. Perfect cycle. However, we have no clue when Lacrimosa is gonna get released, or even if her kit is gonna stay the same, so that's just a gamble. These are the strongest teams with the best synergies that I could think of. Of course, team building is very flexible in this game. Let's say that you want to play 𝗖cie DPS, then you just replace Hathor with 𝗖cie and Nanally with Juan on the Nanally team, and bam, there you have it, 𝗖cie team. Or you want to play a Mint, then you can simply replace Nanally with Mint on every single team. Or you want to play Fadia, I already went over this, you can just use Fadia instead of Haniel and your team is gonna have better survivability. Right now we are limited only by the amount of characters currently in the game. With that said, please let me know what teams do you guys plan to go for. Please let me know what you are cooking, I am curious, give me ideas. Until next time, have a wonderful day and see you all in Hathor.